All right, we're happening. that audience, man.
Back in the back in the good old days when you could play live.
Yeah, the good old days, man. Oh, geez.
You
Hopefully.
know that club. I've never seen that clip, by the way.
Oh,
That club is the oldest and greatest jazz club in Chicago. It was started in 1946, I think, by Joe Siegel, and he just died this past week
oh,
at age 94,
oh my God.
I think.
Yeah, I always wondered if we were related because we spell our names the same.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, that's amazing. What was the name of the club?
the Jazz Showcase.
Jazz Showcase.
They've had 3 or 4 locations, but it was kept continuously going for all these years, and he was there every night, even when he was in his 90s. He would come and be there, listen to the music. He was a really great club owner, and one of the few club owners, I must say, who hired people because he liked the way they played. Not everything was about this person draws well, that person, And he was one of my favorite club owners.
Wow. Well, that's really nice to hear, especially a guy who has a club that long. That's amazing. It's probably one of the world's oldest clubs, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
3 or 4 different locations. I
Yeah.
played 3 of the locations. There were probably 2 others that I didn't play with before my time.
Yeah. Catalina's in LA is going through a hard time right now. They're
Yeah, every club.
yeah.
I mean,
They
every they were probably going through hard times before this, and now with the pandemic.
yeah, well, I think they were holding their own and doing fine. I mean, their monthly nut is crazy huge. Although if you have business going on all the time, then it's fine. But yeah, they've been doing this fundraiser for the last few months, and I think they need double what they got. So it's pretty deep, and it would be a shame to lose them, because they've been around for a long time too.
A lot of a lot of clubs like that. I work a lot at Dizzy's in New York. It's one of the greatest clubs in the world. They have a whole floor of the. Uh, they have 3 concerts. You have a big concert hall, a small concert hall, and a club in one floor of the Time Warner building at Columbus Circle.
I know.
Their 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 rent must be. I can't even imagine what their rent.
Yeah, I know, and I would hope that that particular spot would get a lot of leeway right now. I mean, Catalina doesn't have to pay rent as long as she's not doing any business.
Well, that's nice because
That
I know some club owners who are not getting any breaks at all with the rent,
really.
despite the fact that they've been closed for 5 months.
See, that it doesn't behoove anyone. It's
Yeah,
like even
like
the,
if they have to shut down.
yeah, it just I mean, I realize that the building owners have a nut too. And of course, but yeah, but they should work together. I'm not sure about the blue whale. I don't know what they're doing. I would think that they would get a break because I mean, who else is going to move in and pay rent anyway? It's not like the building owner is going to get any more money.
I'll tell you a funny story about the Jazz Showcase. So Scott Hamilton and I were playing there one summer, and it was very hot. And their location at that point was a location that, um, like there wasn't a lot of walk-in traffic,
Right.
and so we would be outside the club on the break because it was just too hot inside the club. So we'd be hanging outside the club, and people would walk up. Joe Siegel would sit in this little vestibule before you enter the club. People would walk up, and you could tell by the way they walked. They were walking because they were coming to see us, or there were some people that would walk by and say, "Oh, jazz club." Yeah. So So we'd be sitting there and we'd hear people go into the vestibule. You could tell by the way they walked in whether they knew who we were or not. So this conversation happened over and over and over again. We'd be standing outside and we'd hear, "The ice skater?" And then the next thing would be $20. And then we'd walk out.
That's funny. The ice skater?
$20.
Oh my God. Well, one time a few years ago, I was curating a jazz series downtown in this really great room. It was a strange room. It was near the Disney Hall downtown, and it was a vegan restaurant, really nice vegan restaurant. And you walked to the back of the room, and there was a door, a glass door. You opened it up, and you stepped into this club. And it was beautiful, lights and sound, and held about 60 people comfortably. Really beautiful. So I was there for like 2.5 years. But this one gig I'll just never forget. So two of the most outside trombone players, Ryan Dragon and Joey Sellers. I don't know if you know them. They are out, on the outskirts. And so they, amongst other wonderful things they do, they have this duo where they improvise, and they're crazy. They're really crazy. And I wanted to book them because I think, they tickle me, right? And so, but this is the kind of duo that Ryan is wearing Speedos and a wrestling mask. And they're playing trombone. That's it. There's no other players, And they're playing outrageously great stuff. But anyway, this couple came in who had never heard jazz. And when they first came in, I just went over to them and I said, I just want you to know that this is not the standard kind of jazz. This is very kooky and crazy. So, I want you to know that. And they said, okay, that's fine. They sat there the entire first set. They didn't get up and leave. And I think they left on the break, but they didn't get up and leave. They were like, oh, wow, I could just imagine what they went home and told their friends,
I've never performed in a Speedo, I have to say.
Say that again?
I've never performed in a Speedo.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's not necessarily a pretty sight, with the mask too,
Pretty tight. Yeah, I'd have to wear the mask if I did that.
Oh man, yeah. So that was a really beautiful moment that we saw there. Was really great, and hearing the two of you play is just great, and the band is fabulous. But the two of you playing together is really exciting and beautiful.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Scott Hamilton and I have been. He was one of the very first saxophone players I heard when I was just starting out playing saxophone.
Oh.
And a friend of my father's, who was a great saxophone player himself, named Nicky Peters, suggested I pick up a Scott Hamilton record, and I picked up a Scott Hamilton record. Scott is, I think, 12 years older than me, so he was just becoming famous when I was starting to play saxophone. I started playing saxophone when I was 12.
Yeah.
He was 24 and on the scene and getting a lot of notoriety. And so I picked up one of his records and I listened to it and I said, wow, what an incredible sound. That's what I want to sound like. So Scott was my biggest influence for many years when I started out. And then he was also very supportive of me when I became a professional musician and I was around New York, and he would let me sit in with him wherever he was playing. I was welcome to sit in. And then so it was really a special thing that we were able to do concerts together. Now we've done, I don't know, 10 records together or something. And in most years, we have at least a few tours together. And so it's a really special thing to be able to play together. And I know his playing so well because I've listened to so many of his records so much that, you know, it's easy to fall in with him because I know his playing. You know.
Right. I mean, you both, you definitely each have your voices, of course, um, but you're talking the same language. It's kind of like that when you listen. It's really beautiful, very exciting, and yeah, it's just great,
It's
fabulous.
hard to keep dueling tenors for excitement. Dueling tenors is a really exciting thing.
Yeah,
Put two tenor players together, it, it, it's usually pretty fun.
yeah, yeah. So, where did you grow up, Scott? I mean, sorry, Scott. What? And by the way, Scott Hamilton, are you the? Sorry.
I'd be ice skating.
You're the ice skater. But you know, actually, there's a bunch of Harry Allens on Instagram, and because I wanted to share it on Instagram, and I hadn't looked at which, if you have an Instagram, do you?
I do not.
Oh, okay. So if I had shared those on their pages,
Yeah, none of those would be me.
yeah.
I'm on Facebook and Twitter, but not Instagram.
Okay. Um, so where do you hail from?
I sort of from all over. I was born, we lived in Maryland. My parents lived in Maryland when I was born, although officially I was born in Washington, D.C. It was in Washington, D.C. My parents didn't even know that it was in Washington, D.C. My parents told me my whole life that I was born in Maryland. It wasn't until as an adult we had the cute birth certificate with the paw prints on it. I didn't have an official birth certificate. And so I needed to get, when I had to get a passport, I needed to get an official birth certificate. And Maryland had no record of me. And Washington, D.C. did.
Oh gosh.
I was born in Washington, D.C., even though my parents didn't know it. Then when I was 1 year old, we moved to Los Angeles. And I grew up in Granada Hills and Northridge.
Get out of here. That's where I live.
Really? And
Yes. I live in Granada Hills.
in Granada Hills. We lived on High Water Road in Granada Hills. I don't know
Wow.
why I still remember that, but and then we moved when I was about 11. We moved to Rhode Island, where my father was from, and I stayed in Rhode Island throughout junior high and high school. And then I moved to New Jersey,
Oh gosh.
college at Rutgers University, and then stayed either in New Jersey or Manhattan since then. So I've been living I lived in New Jersey for many years. Then I moved into Manhattan for many years, and now I'm back living in New Jersey. If you can see out our window, you can see Manhattan. We're right on the river, basically.
Oh, cool.
Right on the top of the Palisade overlooking Manhattan.
Nice.
So I've lived in this area for much longer than I've ever lived anywhere else. I don't really consider myself as being from anywhere. Anywhere long enough to really get that feeling.
Yeah, maybe planet Earth might be
Yeah.
where your home base was. Paul Krieger is here, and he said you've played and recorded with John and Bucky Pizzarelli. Were those sessions pretty laid back, and can you share any interesting stories from that association?
Oh, sure. Well, Bucky, I met John Pizzarelli when I went to college at Rutgers University. There was a club 2 blocks from my dormitory in New Brunswick, New Jersey. So I went to this club, and John Pizzarelli was playing there with a rock band.
Huh.
And so I spoke with him, and he said, "Oh, I play here. I play here with a jazz band on Thursdays. Come back on Thursdays." So I came back on Thursday, and I sat in with him, and he said, "I'm going to be at this other club on whatever day it was with my father." So I went I went there and sat in with them, and it started a long relationship with both John and Bucky. Um, Bucky, Bucky actually, he he called he called me and said, Benny Goodman is doing a gig, and there's a rehearsal for it, and come with me and bring your horn. So I went with Bucky to this Benny Goodman rehearsal. I sat through. Now, in my opinion, Benny Goodman was the best clarinet player ever, and based on the recordings,
Yeah.
he was best. Well, at this rehearsal, he sounded better to me than on any recording I've ever heard of him. He was unbelievable.
Wow.
I sat there through this whole rehearsal, and then at the end of the rehearsal, Benny nodded in my direction and said, "Get your horn." And so I got to play a song with Benny Goodman,
Uh,
all because of Bucky Pizzarelli, all because of John Pizzarelli. And then some months later, I went to see John at that club in New Brunswick, and John looked at me and said, "Where the hell have you been?" I said, "What do you mean? We're on vacation." Well, the dormitory, my college dorm, had a rule that when you go on vacation, when you for Christmas break or whatever, you have to unplug everything from the wall, which meant I had to unplug my answering machine. It was in the days where you had answering machines.
oh gosh.
There was no voicemail. It was just an answering machine, and so I said, I was on vacation, and John said, "Benny's been trying to call you. He had a gig for you, but you didn't get the call."
Oh my God.
Oh, I missed my chance to do an actual gig.
Oh. oh.
I'll tell you another really nice John Pizzarelli story.
Okay.
So I started working a lot with John. This was before he was famous.
Yeah.
We were just we did weddings. He had a band that was like half jazz band, half rock band. We would play weddings, and we'd play little clubs and stuff like that. So he called me one day and said, "Would you like to go into the studio? And that we're just fooling around. No, it's not, doesn't pay anything. We're just going to go in the studio." So, we're kids. So we go to the studio, we make a record, or we basically make a record. He takes the audio, sends it to Japan to this producer. He had just signed with RCA, and so he sent it to BMG, who owned RCA in Japan, to a producer, and said, "This is the record I want to make with saxophone." And so the producer was a guy named Ikiyoshi Hirakawa. He said, "Yes, let's make that record." But he always wanted to be there to make the record. So he flies over from Japan to New York. We all go back in the studio and do the exact same record again. This time we get paid, the record comes out. So sometime later, John Pizzarelli called in and said, "You want to go back in the studio again?" "Yeah, sure." So we go back in the studio, and this time John doesn't sing. He hardly takes any solos. It's basically me. I'm playing, I'm soloing. And afterwards, I said to him, what was that? What was that all about? Well, John Pizzarelli, out of his own pocket, paid for us to go in the studio and make basically my record. Oh. And he sent it to the same producer in Japan and said, "This is the record you need to make next." So Ikiyoshi Hirakawa said, "Yes, let's do it." He flies to New York. We go back in the studio, and I make my first record for BMG. and all because of John Pizzarelli's generosity and belief in me. So we made the record, and then I signed with BMG Japan, and I ended up making something like, I don't know, or certainly over 30 CDs for them,
Wow.
and it became just a beautiful situation for me. They and of course they put a lot of money behind me in Japan, so I was well known in Japan and
Yeah.
toured and played all the big jazz. And they would say, what do you want to do next? Well, how about the Hank Jones Trio? Okay, great, let's
Oh,
do it.
geez.
No, what do you want to do next? Well, how about Ray Brown and Herb Ellis? Yeah, great, let's do it. So I did, I did a record with Ray Brown and Herb Ellis and Jeff Hamilton. I did a record with Hank Jones Trio, did a record with the Bill Charlap Trio, the Monty Alexander Trio, the Tommy Flanagan Trio. I did a record with Strings. I did a record with the greatest Brazilian players, the Duca da Fonseca and Dori Caymmi, and just record after record after record for them, all due to John Pizzarelli's generosity.
Wow. How many years did you do that with BMG?
It was, we'd do 2 a year, so it was about a 15 year thing. We did about 2 a year,
Boy.
maybe a little longer. Then I kept recording for Ikiyoshi Hirakawa, who left BMG. He saw the writing on the wall that they were going away from jazz, and so he started his own record company. And then I did another maybe 10 records for him with his own company after that.
I've heard his name before. I'm a big Japan person, and yeah, his name is very familiar to me. But wow, that's amazing. What a gift. Whew.
He was the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest producer for jazz, because maybe this isn't the same with all forms of music, but with jazz musicians, we know what we want to do. I know what I want to do. I know what the music's supposed to, I don't need a producer to say,
Yeah.
oh, well, you need the feeling should be like this, or, I don't need that. I have all that together. So he would sit there and take notes and keep the session moving. If the session slowed down, he would say, oh, come on, we have to move it along. And he would take perfect notes and say, there was a problem at 2:36, and we listened to oh yeah, we got to fix that note. He was a great producer, but he's more or less retired now.
Oh, he's still in Japan?
He's still in Japan.
Yeah, in Tokyo.
We're still emailing back and forth.
Is he in Tokyo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, that's so cool. What a huge gift.
Yeah. I owe John Pizzarelli for forever.
Yeah, you must love Japan too.
I love Japan. The most as a group, I don't like to generalize, but as a group, they're the most knowledgeable jazz fans that I see anywhere. They're more likely to know everything about your career. They're more likely to know about your records. People come up to you and say, it happens other places too, but it happens more there. People will come up and say, would you mind signing a CD for me? And then they'll have 25 of my CDs, and they're a very, very knowledgeable group of jazz fans. And there are some other things too, like, for instance, the record industry, CDs in Japan are way more expensive than they are in the US and Europe.
Yeah.
They're like, if you were to buy a Japanese import, it would probably cost you $70 or $80, because it costs $40, $35 or $40 when you buy them in Japan.
Yeah.
That means that the Japanese record companies have more money to spend on the music, because they're selling the CDs for a lot more.
Yeah.
So it's a good situation to record for.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've been going for a super long time. And in the beginning, in the first 10 years I would go 3 times a year. I had a Japanese kind of this producer he owned a music school, and he decided to, you know, go into the producing, and he created all these tours for us and stuff. And actually, way back then, Scott was in the same town that I was in actually, and I think I might have gone to a club in Osaka and seen him or hung out or something. I don't know. I mean, God, there's so many memories, isn't there? So long. I really like the Japanese people. I love teaching uh, the students in Japan.
Yeah.
Um, I have kind of an empathy for them, and um, it's just so endearing when I can lead them to be their best self and acknowledge them, and they just fall into a puddle and melt because, especially the women there, because of the whole kind of society that's much more patriarchal. And they just, yeah, I just love doing that. It's such a good feeling to help people like that.
And everyone's so respectful at
Yeah.
all times. Everyone's respectful of everyone else. It's a lovely society. The food is one of the
Food.
one of the best places to eat.
I
Everywhere
know.
you go. Even Denny's is good in Japan.
That's true. McDonald's,
McDonald's.
but no, I agree with you. I love Japanese food. Yeah, yeah, it's very healthy and great and very varied. There's a few things I don't like. I don't like natto. Natto?
No, I don't.
Natto is like these beans that have been fermented, and
Oh, yes,
yeah,
yes. I have tried that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's like, and not all Japanese people like it either. You really have to grow up with it, I guess, to to
yeah.
like. Ooh.
One, one time I inadvertently ordered raw horse meat.
Oh,
They had, they had raw horse meat and the raw uh, neck fat from the horse.
oh,
That was not my favorite, not my favorite meal in the world.
no, no, I wouldn't have done that either. That's terrible. Um, let's see. Let's see. Oh, my friend Roland Askeruns, he said, Harry, you're one of the few people I know who was born in DC as I was in 1946. Haha. It seems people aren't born in DC for the most part, LOL. Alan Walker was born in, no, maybe I don't know. Paul Krieger, do you recall the name of that record? I'm guessing the first record.
The my first record with BMG.
Not sure, because he just said, do you recall the name of that record?
Yeah, he probably means either the first record I did with John Pizzarelli for BMG or the first record for myself. The
Yeah.
record for myself was called um, Harry Allen Plays, I think. Let me see if I can remember the John Pizzarelli record. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Dun, 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 dun.
With me and Randy Sankey on trumpet and John Pizzarelli's trio. And then the first record I did was also with John's trio.
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh no, it's called Harry Allen Meets the John Pizzarelli Trio. That's what.
Oh, nice. Yeah. There you go, Paul. Yeah, let's see.
John Pizzarelli did one other thing that is one of the highlights of my career. He did a Christmas record where for RCA, and RCA, they hired the greatest arrangers that were alive. Each one did one track, and Johnny Mandel did What Are You Doing New Year's Eve? And John Pizzarelli hired me to come out. We flew out to LA. We recorded it in the Capitol Studios with Johnny Mandel conducting a 52-piece orchestra. And that was just the most glorious thing ever.
Wow. Yeah. He was so cool.
Yeah. He was, I really was hit hard by his passing. I know he was old, but I considered him to be the greatest living musician. And so when I heard that he died, I hit it hard. In fact, I will say that his version of The Shining Sea, which is a song he wrote with Peggy Lee, and there's a version of Peggy Lee singing and his arrangement,
Yeah.
him conducting. I think that's one of the best examples of music in ever.
Wow.
It is such a special recording.
I'm going to have to check that one out.
Yeah, his arrangement is like everything he did, just absolutely perfect. I listened to it and I just know.
Huh.
And Peggy Lee's one of my favorite singers, and she sang the song just like she always did, simple, perfect, with emotion, but also very simple and demure in a way.
Yeah, I had a great singer on here a few days ago, Rebecca Kilgore. Do you know her?
Oh, I love Becky.
Oh man, she's like that.
Yeah.
Simple, her phrasing is perfect. And she is totally expressing who she is.
Yeah. Becky's great. Yeah, I've done many projects with Becky.
Oh,
Luckily,
yeah. She's really great. And Tom Wakeling was on too.
yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice to speak with them and listen. Um, but yeah, Johnny Mandel, um, yeah, we were at a party together last year, and it was really fun hanging out with him. And I was going to actually uh, have an event for him where I was going to feature maybe 6 singers singing his music and interview him, and also I'm an advisory board member of the California Jazz Foundation, which is geared for to help finance financial situations for California jazz musicians. And they were going to do their big fundraiser this year, and Johnny was going to be one of the honorees, and that's when he passed away. I really feel like when his wife passed away earlier this year, I think that's really what took it out of him.
I guess especially, well, at any age, but especially at that age, that
Yeah.
can really be a problem. I'll tell you a little cute. It's not so much cute as just shows you what kind of person Johnny Mandel was.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough also to get to have several meals with him in different places. I had dinner with him in New York after one of his gigs, and I got to have lunch with him at a festival in LA. And so in his arrangement of What Are You Doing New Year's Eve, there was one chord that he had on the bridge. And so the band of us from New York, there was John Pizzarelli, Ray Kennedy, Martin Pizzarelli, and myself. And Ray Kennedy and John Pizzarelli and I, we all three have perfect pitch. And there's not, if you have perfect pitch, you can hear just about anything.
Yeah.
When you hear a chord, you know what it is. Well, there was a chord in this arrangement, and the piano player and I were we're sitting there listening to it, and we're like, what chord is that? And we couldn't figure out what chord it is. And the Ray Kennedy had just the best ears that I know. And we couldn't figure out what chord it was. Like there's something screwy about that chord. I don't mean screwy in a good way, but I mean, I don't mean it in a bad way.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a beautiful thing, but we're all listening to it going, what is that? But we can't tell, we can't figure out what that is. So when I'm having lunch with Johnny Mandel, I said to him, I said that there was a chord in that arrangement that I can't figure out. And he said, well, let's go find a piano. And we walked throughout the hotel until we found a piano. And he said, okay. He sat down and said, no, let's find out what this is. And he started playing the song. And he went, when he played the bridge, he went in a totally another direction from the arrangement. And we never found the chord. But just the fact that he was willing to find a piano for me so he could find that chord for me, I just thought I was so tough.
Yeah, I have a piano player friend here, Bradley Young, and he you know, his the Shirley Horn record, you know, which
Right.
I've heard before. Like people that record just kills them. And I know how he arranged it. He had her play first, and then he arranged around that. Because we were talking about it, and
I didn't know that. That's I know some other recordings that were done like that.
yeah, me too.
But
You
yeah, so
know,
that,
you know, what was a famous one that was done like that? Amoroso.
yeah, Amoroso, yeah.
Yeah,
That had to be perfect because
he
I mean,
phrases.
he wasn't he was keeping rhythm, but he wasn't necessarily keeping the right number of beats per measure. So
Also, his phrasing is crazy
yeah,
back. You know,
yeah, that had to be done like that, and that's a beautiful record.
beautiful, beautiful. Are you into Brazilian music?
Very much. Play I play a lot with Trio de Page, a great Brazilian band, all Brazilian guys who live in New York. Um, I've done, for BMG, we used to do one jazz record, and then the other half of the year we'd do a Brazilian record. So
Oh,
I made lots of Brazilian records and was fortunate enough to work with a lot of great Brazilian
oh
musicians.
wow. Who are some of your favorite composers?
Well, Joe Beam is the top for me.
Yeah,
Um, Yvonne Lins I love.
yeah,
Uh, there's Dorival Caymmi,
yeah.
but it's just, to me, Joe Beam is the top.
Joe Beam's amazing. I did a jazz chamber orchestra record, and I did a song. Not a lot of people know this song, or not an abundance of people know. Velho Piano.
Oh, piano.
Yeah, written by not Dori Caymmi, his uh, his sister or something. Is that right? Um, oh, I'm bad. I'm really bad about that. But it's such a beautiful song. Oh my God. It's one of those songs that's, I think my favorite Brazilian stuff is kind of has more dark harmonic quality, and then the changes, will really, like your song, go somewhere that I don't expect, and ooh, just talking about it gives me chills.
Are you familiar with Joe Beam's Piano na Mangueira?
No.
Probably mangling the pronunciation there. Piano na Mangueira.
Na Manier. Okay.
It's a song about uh, there's a school of dance, I believe, a dance school at the top of the mountain. The Mangueira is the name of the mountain.
Oh,
the song's about trying to get a piano at the top of this mountain, the school, the dancing school. But Jobim wrote the song in like a couple of different meters. I don't mean like 3/4 or 4/4. Like the song is, some of the measures are like elongated and others aren't. It is such a great idea.
Hmm.
And it's so it's an odd number of measures, but it works perfectly. Of course, Jobim was a genius, so it just works perfectly. It's great.
Wow, I'm gonna have to check that out. Right now, I'm working on Louisa.
Louisa's great. Yeah.
Ugh, that's one of those songs, right? It's like this kind of a dark harmony, and then like, whoa, where is that going?
Bonita, Bonita's sort of like that.
Yeah, I do that too. That's a song I've done since I was a kid. In fact, I recorded that song with Atmara Ruiz, who's a really amazing piano player. Um, but yeah, the H is silent in Velho. Thank you, Roland. Velio piano. Yeah, it's been a while since
My pronunciation is all Rhode Island, Rhode Island Brazilian pronunciation.
Thank you. I'm going to say that from now on. My pronunciation is Boston Brazilian. I actually do want to actually get more into Brazilian stuff right now. Just taking advantage of this time. I went to Berkeley with my flute. This was years ago, and they didn't have voice at the time, so I went for flute and arranging and comp. So in the last few months, I've taken out my flute and I'm practicing again, which is really fun. And I've been going over Louisa because it's really a beautiful song on flute. Do you play other instruments, or you're mostly? I mean, I know you're mostly tenor, but
Yeah, mostly tenor. Of course, I could play all the saxophones.
yeah,
I'm not saying I can play them perfectly, but
yeah.
if you play one saxophone, you can play the others. I played clarinet. Well, I played. I'll give you 3 guesses at my first instrument.
Clarinet,
No.
accordion.
Yes. Now that's an impressive.
Wow. Okay.
Someone knocked on our front door in Granada Hills, doing accordion lessons, and they didn't even want me. They wanted my sister. I was too young, and so I remember this. I remember this so clearly. I don't remember much about being a little kid, but I was hiding behind the couch, watching them do this little demonstration with my sister on the accordion, and so then after they got done doing the demonstration with my sister, they did the demonstration with me, but he didn't have to tell me to do anything. I did it all right because I was paying such close attention. And they didn't want to take me because they said I was too young. And my father said, well, you either take both of them or you don't take any of them. So I started playing accordion. So I played, accordion, piano since I was 6 or 7.
Wow.
And then I played clarinet a little bit, but I haven't touched clarinet in a long time.
How long did you play accordion?
Through high school. I mean, we went to accordion competitions and that. I was a fairly serious accordion player, and then I haven't touched it since then. Well, luckily.
Okay, if you ever are in Chicago and you bump into Janice Borla, you have something to talk about because she played accordion up to college when she said she finally realized that it wasn't the hippest instrument. She didn't know that before because she grew up in a Polish area and everybody was playing accordion, and she did that.
My standard joke is I played accordion until I got sick of getting beaten up, and then I switched to sax.
Of course, now you could bring it out again and you could be hip because that's what's happening.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I play piano. I play a lot of piano at home. I've basically never done a gig on piano, although Judy Carmichael would make me play piano on the songs we wrote. and she would stand up and sing. So I did play a piano, but I play a lot of piano at home.
Yeah. Let's talk about Judy Carmichael for a minute. So Judy Carmichael, she was on the show a long time ago. A great stride piano player. She's a singer, writer, and a very charming, comedic
Yeah, very fun.
person. She has a podcast that is on NPR she's had it for 20 years, I think, or 25, 20 or 25 years. So when did you meet and how long did you play together?
Well, I met her a long time ago. I heard her on some. I went with her a few times, years and years ago. So I've known her for quite a long time, and then she had me on her show, and then we started to do a few gigs together, and then I worked with her for I don't know 5, 6 years. We did some work together. I got her. She's very funny on stage, but I got her really good ones. We were doing a concert in California at what's the name of the place? You'd know it. It's a very famous place with concerts out there. Outdoor, beautiful place. And she forgot her watch in the dressing room, and she didn't want to have the guitar player go get it. He's sitting down, he's got the guitar. So she came over to me and whispered in my ear, "Would you mind going in the dressing room and getting my watch?" And so I said in a very loud voice, "You can't fire me, I quit."
Nice. Nice subtle touch. Oh my God, that's funny.
And
And then what?
then I had written a song years ago called "I Can See Forever," and some people tried writing lyrics to it, and I wasn't happy with any of the lyrics that were written. And Judy said, "Do you mind if I try to write lyrics to it?" I said, "Sure." And she wrote a beautiful lyric to it, and I thought, "Wow, that's a really nice lyric." So then we started writing together. We wrote a bunch of songs together, including you mentioned June song.
June song, great song. Yeah.
So then we did a record of our songs together, and
I have that record.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
In fact, you might see the cat that's on the cover.
Oh, I saw that cat up.
Yeah, we've got three kitties, so you might see the one that's featured on the cover of that record.
Oh.
At some point.
Speaking of records, let's actually hear something. I'm going to go on YouTube, and maybe you can tell me anything that is right. Let's see. All right, Spanky Heron Allen, Splanky, not Spanky, Splanky.
Yeah, you can try that.
Yeah.
Andrea Watts is a great Italian piano player.
Oh, cool. Okay. What is Splanky?
Splanky is a Neil Hefti song written for Count Basie.
Oh, okay. I probably will know it once I hear
Yeah,
it.
you'll know.
Okay.
With 11, almost 12 minutes.
Okay. Well, maybe we might cut down at 7 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the song. Did you say something? Sorry?
I said that's Anthony Pinciotti on drums.
Oh, okay. These guys really groove so beautifully.
Simon Wolf on bass.
You say what?
Simon Wolf is on bass. He's a British bass player.
Great, and the drummer has such a great groove.
Yeah. He's an American drummer. And the Italian bass player, Andrea Pazzo. Really great thing.
Yeah, I want to ask you. I want to ask you a few questions. Actually, I noticed that on the other cut too that we first started with, seemed like when you started playing, there was a I don't know how to put it, but like kind of a cementing of everybody together. You know, it was like a. And this too, I noticed that you have a very, of course, that's what we want, but it's very noticeable with you that you have a very good communication and connection with the band. It's
Well, one thing is I think it's very important to, this sounds obvious, but a lot of times I don't think it is obvious to musicians. You really want to play with the band.
yeah,
And somebody told me when I was pretty young, somebody came up and said, playing with you is really fun because you play with us. So you're like, you give the melody to the piano player for the bridge. It's like, it's not just me out in front of the band. It's the band. So yeah, I want to play with the band. I put a lot of thought into what does everybody do well? What can I feature them on that makes them shine? Stuff like that. It's pretty obvious stuff, but there are some people that don't operate like that, and I think it's important.
I know it's interesting, and even good players who do that. There's different levels, but it's human nature. It's just who you are and how you relate to the others, and how well you play in the sandbox, basically. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we discussed this before we got on, but Harry is totally cool. That's why he's wearing dark glasses.
I'm the coolest. I'm for a white guy. I'm cool.
Actually, he has a bit of an eye problem, so he's wearing dark glasses.
That's just a little bit of an eye problem and a sensitivity to light. So I've been wearing a lot of dark glasses, which has made me really cool.
Well, you are cool, so it's just a natural expression of your coolness.
It's actually really bright out in this room. So,
Yeah.
but I apologize to
You don't have to apologize. I'm just explaining. But yeah, I mean, I know the answer for me, but I like to ask questions that I think people might want to know too, you know. Um, so, do you favor listening to particular players? Like, do you favor listening to drummers, or does it depend on the band, or do you just kind of does your attention flow around to each member?
my attention. I'm trying to listen to everything, and I uh, put it this way, like uh, if I had a good enough memory,
Uh-huh.
I would be able to write out the bass line that the bass player played because I'm listening to every note that the bass player plays. And same with the piano. I'm listening to everything. I'm trying to hear every note that goes on the entire time. I'm listening much more to that than I am listening to myself. You know, I'm paying much more attention to that than I pay attention to what I'm actually playing. So I like to think of it like Muhammad Ali in the ring. I'm I'm trying to be light on my feet and react to whatever goes on. If the bass player plays a certain note, I react to that. If the piano plays a certain note or a certain chord, I react to that. So I never go into it thinking, okay, well, here's a line. This is my line. I'm going to do that. I start a line and then I react to whatever's going on, and that line changes in the middle to go with what's happening.
Yeah. Um, the other thing that I was kind of curious about, and I think this fascinates me actually anyway, especially with horn players and singers, is that we have the sound that we make that really comes through us. It has to do with our breath, you know, and of course all players uh, are better when they are expressive of their emotions, right? But I was just wondering because your sound is so um, sensuous. It's really it's a beautiful tone that you get, and I was just wondering how you. I'm not sure of my question. How do you feel about your tone? Are you connected with it? Are you is it something that you love to make? Like the tone is kind of primary for you? Do you know where I'm going with this?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. Your compliment. Um, Tone is the most important thing to me. Uh, I think the best saxophone tone in the history of the world was Ben Webster.
Mm.
Uh, and so, not that I'm consciously trying to strive to sound like Ben Webster, but I'm consciously always trying to strive to get the best sound that I can get, um, and mostly really disgusted with the results. I constantly change mouthpieces. I change mouthpieces all
Oh,
the time.
what is it with you sax players, man? Is that what it is? The tone?
You play one mouthpiece and it sounds really great, and then it becomes the winter changes to spring and the weather's different, and then the reeds react differently with the mouthpiece, and all of a sudden I don't like the sound anymore.
Wow.
Or I I switched mouthpieces during the pandemic. I'm playing on a
Interesting.
different mouthpiece than when the pandemic started. Uh, so I'm constantly trying different things with reeds, different kinds of reeds, different strengths.
Reeds are really a pain in the ass, aren't they?
Yeah, but it all depends um, on the equipment you're using. Like I make most every reed play because I the mouthpieces I play on are pretty good with reeds. Other mouthpieces are much more swirly, and you have to find the reed that fits it perfectly. But I do pretty well with reeds. So if I have a box of 10 reeds, I probably use 8 of them.
Oh, that's good. Good odds.
Yeah,
So, in mouthpieces, do you have varying brands and ages of them?
no, that's the weird thing is I I like uh, I like all right. So the Selmer is the kind of saxophone that most
Yeah.
people know. So I I was playing on a balanced action, a super balanced action, which was from the 50s.
Okay.
And I got frustrated with it at some point. And it had a beautiful sound, but it didn't have the guts that I wanted. So then I tried a horn from the early 30s, like right around 1930, a Selmer, they just called it the Selmer Super. And that had all the guts in the world, but it didn't have the sensitivity of the super balanced action. So then I said, well, let me find one in the middle. So I tried a balanced action from 1938, and that had both. It had the guts and the sensitivity, and immediately I felt like I was home.
Huh.
And the same thing happened to me when I tried Auto Link as the mouthpiece that historically, and not so much now, but historically, most of the great saxophone players played on Auto Links. And when I tried the Master Link model, which was from the 30s, it was the first model that Link made. Uh, I immediately felt at home. And so I spent years buying every Master Link that I could get my hands on, and nobody else played on them. So they weren't that expensive. And so I have got a drawer full of Master Link mouthpieces.
Hmm.
And so I always play on a Master Link mouthpiece. Scott Hamilton now is playing on a Master Link mouthpiece that I gave him. Uh, so I go from one to the other, and I spent years working on my own refacing them myself. So sometimes I do the work myself, and then I have this great guy in Ohio named Eric Griffenhagen, who is a wonderful craftsman. So he does he'll do some work for me, and then occasionally I'll do my own work.
Cool. You know, Bob Shepard makes mouthpieces too, together with I guess, a technician, and yeah, he's really. We had a long talk about tone too. Yeah, tone is. Yeah, it's really nice to hear that, especially. Um, well, I'll try and be brief about this because it's not all about me; it's more about you. But I've been. Oh, for the last few years, I've had a new vocal teacher, and I have this chronic cough that I've had for years, and it's really inhibited my singing in a way that I noticed that I'm not happy with. And so over the last, I'd say 6 months, it's like the learning curve exponentially, and so now I'm enjoying my tone in a different way. And I mean, maybe I was like this years ago before my cough started because my cough has been around for 20 years. So, and I don't think for the first few years or bunch of years that the cough really affected me, but after a while it did. And plus, for some reason, the teacher that I loved the most I haven't had very many like serious long-term vocal teachers, but the one I loved the most taught me about vocal cords. So it's like you being taught about reeds or something, and never about breathing. And it wasn't because she didn't teach about breathing. She had classical students, and I don't know why she didn't really teach me about breathing. Maybe she didn't think I needed it, or so I never really learned about breathing until this last teacher. And
That's
um,
so important.
God,
So I was just going to mention before you said that
yeah,
that part of the tone is my posture and my breathing, because you have to have a you have to have a very solid column of air, because that takes the pressure off of your embouchure and off of the reed, and allows the tone to be good.
very exciting.
Yeah,
It's kind of
the,
thrilling to make sound like that, you know?
the air is important. I don't do a lot of teaching, but occasionally I'll get students, mostly young professional saxophone players, who want to take a lesson with me, and that's the first thing I tell them: you're using your embouchure too much. You got to use the air and take the pressure off your embouchure, and that'll free you up to do a lot more stuff and sound a lot easier and better.
Yeah. Um, Also, my friend Roland, also, he's asking about perfect pitch. He's, which of course we've all heard. Do you find that sometimes having perfect pitch is a curse because you can hear sonic anomalies that the rest of us can't?
It's only a curse. No, I would never say it's a curse. It is a blessing. Uh, you know, 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. It's a blessing, whatever that expression is. uh, it's a blessing, blessing. The only time when it's not a blessing is when you're listening to something that is not at the right pitch. Uh, one time, I was listening to a concert, not to talk ill of the dead. Um, I'm blanking on his name. Great alto saxophone player. He just died a few months ago. Oh God. Anyway, I'll still tell you the story. But he was a great saxophone
Yeah.
player, and I saw a concert with him, bass, and drums, and they obviously didn't tune to anything. They just tuned to each other, but they were right in the middle of the half steps, and that drives you crazy because you listen to it and you think, oh, that's a C major chord. No, that's a B chord. No, it's a C major chord. No, it's a B chord. Then the next chord comes and you're like, oh, that's a E major. No, that's an F major. It drives you crazy. I eventually had to leave the concert.
What about when you're listening to some of the Indian music that is, the
That doesn't bother me, because those quarter tones and stuff are meant to be there, and yeah, that doesn't bother me at all. But listening to a recording that is not at the right speed, that drives you nuts. Just because you're always trying to figure everything out, every single thing you hear, you try to, you basically transcribe in your head, and when you can't tell what pitch is at it, it drives you a little nuts. But it's a blessing. That's such a little tiny annoyance that
That's cool. So, let's see. Are you usually the headliner in your performances, or do you also play with, are you a sideman for,
both.
well, not a sideman, but
No, but no, both. I do a lot of work. As a sideman, I've done a lot of work with singers. I love playing with singers. Becky and I, we had this thing at Einstein's in New York.
Huh.
We would do a week, or one time we did 2 weeks at Feinstein's. So we'd do these projects, and we did a CD of Marilyn Monroe music, the songs that she did. We did a Judy Garland show. I love working with singers, and so I've done a lot of that. I do a lot of sideband work. I do a lot of work as a leader. So one thing that is sort of interesting is before the pandemic, I had wanted to record a solo saxophone CD at home. So I had started to get the equipment necessary.
Oh.
And then when the pandemic hit, I thought, okay, well, this is the time for that.
Yeah.
So I immediately ordered the rest of the equipment, which took a month to get here because all
Everybody was doing right.
trouble. So I spent the last 3 months recording 3 different records at home.
Oh.
And so the first one came out 3 weeks ago. It's called The Bloody Happy Song. And it's just me.
It's one song?
No, it's the whole CD, 10
Okay.
songs.
Okay.
But it's only me. I'm the only person on the record.
Wow, I'm really intrigued by that.
I play some piano and other things, and but it's just me. There's 2 solo saxophone pieces.
Uh-huh.
There's 1 trio saxophone, and there's a couple of arranged ones for 5, 6, 7 saxophones overdubbed.
Wow.
And then there's some other surprises on the record too. So
The Bloody Happy Song, is that
Bloody Happy Song, because it's right here, actually.
Oh.
The Bloody Happy Song.
Okay. What a great cover.
Yeah, that's my wife's artwork.
That's cool.
Beautiful artwork. And so I started writing a song like immediately after that. All right, so I was on tour in Paris in mid-March. And after the gig, I was hanging out at the bar, and my wife texted me, said, a travel ban's going to go into effect the day after tomorrow. So I thought, one, I don't want first of all, my first thought was I don't want my wife to have to be stranded alone in a quarantine, in our apartment. And I don't want to be stranded in a hotel room in Paris for a month or whatever. So I changed my flight. I flew home the next morning. The first time I've ever left a tour in the middle of a tour. Flew home, and then a day or 2 after that, everything locked down. So now I'm in the apartment. So I write this song, and I didn't intend it to be like an overly happy song. It was just a regular song. I was writing it, and as I'm writing it, I'm thinking, oh no, this is sounding so happy. And I go on and write a little bit more, and I'm like, oh, it's just too happy. It's too happy. I finished the song, and I was like, there's nothing I can do about it. This song just insists upon being a happy song. So I called it the Bloody Happy Song. It's just bloody happy. That's the CD. And not to get dark in the middle of our interview here, but
okay.
I don't picture the music business coming back anytime soon.
Yeah.
First of all, social distancing rules have to be gone before any club or any concert or any festival is going to make any money. So with social distancing rules in effect, I mean, here in New York and New Jersey, we can't eat inside a restaurant still. You can eat in the parking lot of the restaurant if they have tables in the parking lot. But until social distancing rules are gone, there is no performance going on. You know, there's a couple of outside things. Come October, that's done. So,
Right.
so I'm starting to get work recording remotely because I have a setup here. Somebody needs a saxophone player on their record. Send me the stuff, and I'll record it. And I'm starting to get work like that, and it's keeping us alive and eating. So I'm actually really excited about that because I love recording music.
So there you hear it. This conversation reminds me of, I'm sorry, my printer's going, but it reminds me of seeing Aretha Franklin come on Johnny Carson, and he was saying, "What are you doing? Are you working?" And she says, she looks at the camera and she goes, "No, I need work." Wow, Aretha Franklin, you know. Yeah, but I mean, we're definitely on a new path, and I feel like there's so many creative people out there that we are going to come up with new things to do and new ways to make money. And it's gonna the old ways are gonna morph, but and then, you know, hopefully there'll be a moment in the not too far future where everything will be fine and we'll get back to.
I hope so. Of course, there's a lot of problems. Like a lot of the jazz clubs are going to be gone.
Yeah, I know.
They can't survive 5 months without, and there's no sign of this ending. If it goes on another 6 months, then most of the jazz clubs will be gone, and all those people who had the money to open a jazz club will now no longer have the money to open a jazz club. So it could be a long time before things get back. But the music's, like you say, we'll find ways, and this is my way. I decided against doing Zoom concerts or, you know, a cappella and stuff like that. The sound quality is always so bad, and
Wow.
I decided to go this recording route where I can control the sound, and my $500 microphone, the sound is pretty comparable to the best sound I've gotten on records with $7,000 microphone. So I'm very happy with this, and so that's my plan, is to go ahead and for the time being, as a remote recording artist.
That can be your moniker.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, let's listen to something again, may we?
Sure.
And there's so much that you.
Type in. It's a promo for my new record.
Okay.
Type in Harry Allen. I'll get along without you. I get along without you very well. I get along without you very well.
Another song that I've sung too. It's a beautiful song.
Not the first, not that one. Go to the second one.
This one.
Yeah, this is from the new record.
Oh, good. Okay.
That's the on piano.
Wow. Gorgeous.
Thank you.
Oh man. And you did all that, right?
I did all that. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So
Really?
that's what I've been up to during the pandemic.
Yeah. We had some comments from my friend Roland. He wanted to know if it was available on iTunes, but it's available through you.
Yeah, you can. It's available through me, and it was just now. Now it should be available on iTunes and Amazon and places like that.
Cool. And that your tone, Roland sang, beautiful, soulful, and Paul Krieger's incredible voicing and tone to kill for.
That's supposed to be. Thank you, guys.
And Roland's 6-month granddaughter is listening and smiling. Now you know you passed the,
My
the
first
task.
college roommate was Paul Krieger.
Sorry,
My first college roommate was named Paul Krieger.
is that the same Paul Krieger? Paul, are you the same? Are you the same Paul Krieger? His first college roommate? It's, we'll find out if he answers. Um, so speaking of college, when you were in, you went to Rutgers, and then so and then you went to New York after that. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, Rutgers is in New Jersey, and so I kept living in New Jersey for some years after I graduated college. But I moved. Rutgers is about an hour outside of New York City, so I moved to Union City, which is right on the New Jersey side of the Lincoln Tunnel. So I moved there and lived there for many years before moving into Midtown. So yeah, I stayed in this area, but very close to New York. Basically.
Yeah. Well, so you got obviously super involved in the New York scene. Uh,
Well, oddly enough, I my career was almost exclusively on the road
oh,
for the first many years.
wow.
It wasn't until 9/11 that all the road work stopped. for a while. All the flights stopped for months, for a few months. And at that point, I said, well, I'd better concentrate on working more in New York. And ever since then, I've had a much nicer balance of playing clubs around New York and doing it.
Right. That was about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But before that, I hardly played any club in New York. I was just on the road.
Isn't that interesting? It's pretty wild. Yeah, it's an interesting life and career, isn't it?
Sure, sure. In fact, I was on my way to fly to Japan on the morning of 9/11.
Oh, wow.
And my car, I had this car that it didn't have a radio.
Ah,
And so I got in my car and drove. I lived in New Jersey at the time. We drove over the GW Bridge, and the bridge was closed. So I went to the next bridge up, which is I don't know, 15 miles, something like that, north of the city, to the next bridge. I went over that bridge, and I had to go to JFK Airport. So I'm coming down the highway along the river, and all of a sudden the traffic stopped and just stopped. But I didn't have a radio in my car, so I didn't know what had happened. So finally a news van pulled up alongside me. So I asked them what happened, and they told me what happened.
God.
And so then I found a policeman who said, don't go to the airport. No flights are flying. So then I turned around and went home. It took me 10 hours to get home.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yep, I remember that day really well. Yeah, I was actually supposed to be in Japan in March and April for 3 weeks. So, and I waited kind of till the last minute and to cancel because I was like, I wasn't sure what was going on, you know.
Yeah.
And then finally it was just, yeah, there's too many things going on. It doesn't feel like I should be going.
Yeah. I know it's traveling's. I guess there are people traveling, but I
Oh,
haven't traveled anywhere since the middle of March when I flew home from Paris.
yeah. Also, like if I had gone to Japan, I couldn't depend on students showing up in a small, tiny room with me, take
Yeah,
or, gigs and stuff. So it wasn't the traveling didn't worry me as much as that did actually. But um, somebody just checked your CD link, but it seems to be down. I'm not sure. I'm going to put your email address here. I know I have it, but why don't you just tell me that's where they should email
yeah.
you?
Anybody who wants to email me at harryallen@com.
HarryAllen.com. Oh, sorry. What was it? Harry at Harry Allen?
No, harryallen@me.com. You have my other email address, which is also works, but it's easier just harryallen@me.com.
Okay. Got it. Okay. I wrote it down. Um, yeah. So, let's see. What have we not talked about, Harry? I'm sure there's more because we've only skimmed the surface, you know.
One funny thing, one more funny. We've got 3 cats,
Yeah.
and one funny thing about that recording is being at home. I was very lucky that the acoustics here are nice. They're sort of neutral, which is exactly what you want. It always drives me nuts when you're in a recording studio and they put you in some room that they've taken all the acoustics away and made it into a vacuum, and then you get in the room and you can't play because the sound is so bad in that room. I've never understood. Yeah, I know they add the stuff in electronically. They add the reverb and EQ in electronically and stuff like that. But you can't play if the room sounds like a vacuum.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like you're inside a vacuum cleaner. And uh, so the acoustics here are nice and neutral, which was great for recording. But there's one cut on the record where it's very subtle. I doubt you'd even hear it, but when I was listening to it over and over again, I heard this noise, and I was, what is that noise?
Uh,
I finally figured out it was our cat jumping on top of the piano here.
wow. Wow.
But I doubt anyone's going to be able to find it because I listened to it over and over and over again, and I didn't hear it. You know, it took me a long time to hear it.
Um, Paul asks, can you talk about practicing? How much, how often has it changed over the years?
Uh, my practicing hasn't really changed over the years. I've always done the same thing. I do not. I don't like practicing with a metronome or with recorded music or something. I think that is detrimental to your playing. I taught for a week at the Royal Academy of Music in London, and obviously they all practice with metronome. And I say obviously because I gave a private lesson to every student there, and every single student did the same thing. When I was playing a bass line behind them, they played fine. And then when I stopped playing the bass line, their time went to hell.
Huh.
So you got to have your time together in your head, not in your metronome.
Yeah.
So and if you practice playing with a metronome, it's like you're leaning on the metronome. And if you do that, you're going to be leaning on the drummer. When you play with a rhythm section, you'll be leaning on the bass player and the drummer for their time. You don't want that. You want the time to be in you. So I have always practiced the same way. I play a song, I play the melody to a song, I play as many choruses as I can play without repeating ideas, and then I play the melody again, and I end the song, and I see if I sped up or slowed down, and if I did sped up or slow down, I do it again and make sure I don't speed up or slow down. And what that does is it gives me a good sense of time inside myself, inside my playing, and also the harmony. Because if you're playing by yourself and you're not playing the harmony, nothing's going on. So I've learned right from the start, this is the way I've always practiced. You just play all the harmony yourself. I think it's important for the saxophone player, for the horn player, to be as responsible for the harmony as the piano player is, as responsible for the time as the drummer is. And consequently, a lot of people tell me that I'm very easy to play with because I don't lean on the rhythm section for the time. And I've got all the harmony going in my head. So I'm not relying on something that I'm hearing for the harmony.
Yeah.
No, I hear something, and people don't always play the same changes. People will put in a substitute changes, and I listen for that and respond to it. But if I were to do a concert just all by myself, it would be fine.
Yeah, that's really great.
And in terms of length of time, when I was a kid, I would practice 5-6 hours a day. All day. I would during the summer when I wasn't in school, I'd wake up, I'd start playing the saxophone, I'd play until my parents got home from work. When once I became a professional musician with working a lot, then I didn't need to practice as much. So my practicing would basically be to find good reeds or stuff like that. I wouldn't be practicing to keep myself in shape because playing would be doing that. Now that there are no gigs, I have to practice to stay in shape. So I've been trying not to disturb my neighbors. I live in an apartment building, so I'm not playing all day long. I wish I was comfortable playing all day long, but I don't. So I keep it to a couple hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, practice is a really interesting thing. And when I'm teaching students about time and time and groove and harmony, it's really interesting, especially for singers because, they're using their voice, which is such a really, in a way, an intangible instrument.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's so much, it's a lot of mental work and focus. And yeah, it's in fact, right before I got on, I was looking through my email and I went over to see the Kenny Werner speaking to his coming students for the Effortless Mastery, department at Berkeley, which is so amazingly great. What a great thing.
And he's a great musician. I love Kenny Wine.
He's a great musician and a great teacher and writer and everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He did the arrangements on the string record I did for BMG. It was his arrangement. Yeah.
Okay, okay, you have to tell me the title of that one because I want to. I'm a big fan of his too.
Let's see if I can remember the title. It's all Henry Mancini music,
Oh, okay.
but I don't.
Does Henry Mancini?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact title.
Okay, but okay, I'll find it.
It's
Mancini,
Henry Mancini.
something with Mancini. Okay. Wow, cool. Well, we're winding up here, and I just want to say thank you so much for spending 2 hours on this hang. We didn't know each other, and you've been extremely fun to talk to and kind and
Very cool.
very cool.
My glasses.
Yeah, you really are cool. By the way, that photo of you on that last, I think the last thing that we were listening to, that's a really nice photo.
My wife is such a talented artist. And another thing is, so all my work in mid-March, all my work got canceled, all of it. And my wife started selling art like crazy, and she kept us going
Really?
with art sales. She's a great artist, and she took that photo. She's a great photographer. If you want to fund, my Facebook is boring. All I do is put. She tried to tell me something. What are you saying? Instagram. So my wife's
Instagram.
professional name is Ivana Falcone, and if you want to see a fun Facebook or Instagram thing, go check her out on Facebook.
How do you
Instagram.
spell her name?
Ivana, Ivana Falcone, like Falcon with an I at the end.
Ivanacalco.
Fal.
Oh, F.
Like the bird falcon
Oh.
with an I at the end. Falcone.
Oh, okay. Falcone. Okay, I'm going to type that in. So,
Yeah, lots of my friends well, I see your advertisements on Facebook and stuff, but really I enjoy Ivana's Facebook and Instagram.
well, that's okay.
Yeah. Mine's not fun. Mine's all business. Business fun.
You're a sweetheart too. I recognize that you're a very nice person, and I like your dad too, just from what you mentioned him a few times and what he
My
did.
my dad was great.
Yeah, so I'm just putting that there. I like your dad too.
Whole thing. And great to meet you. And we have to meet in person.
Yeah,
And you're a lovely person. It's
thanks. Thanks. That was really fun. You know, my dad was a sax player, so
Oh,
and mostly tenor. So and then, over the years, I dated a lot of tenor players.
that's dangerous.
So I heard a lot about, mouthpieces and reeds and
Yeah, I just talked to her about it until her eyes glaze over.
that's my husband does that too. My husband's into metal detecting. So and it's interesting, but it moves way too slow for me. I tried it and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to die." But he talks a lot about it, and sometimes I feel like my eyes glaze over, but I'm always there for him. Honey, you can tell me anything.
My other passion is tennis,
Tennis?
and I play a lot of tennis. And I come home and I tell her about a match, and this point and that point and that one. She's like, "Oh yeah, great."
Well, that's the joy. We can live together and we can have our own special hobbies and loves. It's strangely enough, my husband is not really into jazz. So, my first husband was a musician, really great musician and artist. And then my second husband I met about 20 years ago, and he was the lighting board operator on the Tonight Show. So he was lighting bands and all that kind of stuff. He never thought of himself as an artist, um, but I did. I mean, I thought what he did was very artful, and then, he didn't like jazz, and I was like, he loves rock and blues mostly, and he does like some jazz. And since he's married to me, I've taken him. I can kind of tell what he's going to like. And he played a little bit of drums when he was young, so good drummers, that's always a thing. So anyway, it's funny. I just figured, there's so many great things that this relationship has. I can get my jazz fix elsewhere,
Yeah,
I don't get it from him.
you don't have to do everything. Ivana loves jazz, but she hates tennis, and like, no, that's no problem. And thanks to her, I'm still sane through this lockdown.
Ivana, you're hip. I'm gonna go check out your page. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. And tomorrow, just so everyone knows, I'm going to have on Carmen Bradford. Wow, she's a great singer, and she is the child of let's see, Bobby Bradford and oh gosh, it just went out of my head. Wait a minute. It's pretty impressive. Are you familiar with Carmen?
I know the name, but I don't really know her stuff.
She's really great.
I'll check her out.
Melba Joyce is her mother.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean, Bobby Bradford and Melba Joyce.
yeah.
Wow. And her grandfather he sang with a big band and, well, actually several big bands, I guess Dizzy and the Ink Spots. So anyway, she's on tomorrow. It's going to be really fun.
Singing with Dizzy. That's an impressive resume.
It is an impressive
Yeah,
resume.
it's impressive.
And then just to tell people, Thursday I have a day off. Then Paul Krybik, great drummer on Friday. Saturday, another great singer from New York, Sharon Clark, really wonderful. And Sunday, the trumpet player and prolific movie scorer, Mark Isham. So that's this week. And again, Harry, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks to all your fans.
Okay, everybody, y'all take care of yourself. I'm going to go back into kitchen hell, kitchen redo hell. And but I will see you tomorrow, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Bye, Hare.